Good
Hey
morning,
everyone.
Shelby.
Good afternoon, Tim. So I have to say, it doesn't look like your usual office space. Where are you exactly?
This is my new office. I've decided to work out. Oops. I've decided to work outdoors.
Oh,
Sorry,
well, that's
hammer
fantastic. Are
fell out
you
of my
doing
pocket.
anything? No worries. Are you doing anything in particular or just enjoying some nice outdoor time?
I'm working, Shelby.
Oh,
I'm building stuff. I'm just not building Seagull. I'm building a deck at my house. And so I took, most of the week off and so I could build the deck. But I'm still working. I'm just not working on Seagull stuff.
that's totally fair. And does that mean that it's springtime by you yet?
Well, spring on the West Coast, a little bit of rain, a little hail, a little sun. Sort of, we run the gamut almost every day lately. But it's okay. Yeah, it's almost spring. How about you? How's spring in the Midwest looking these days?
It's approaching. Today is one of the warmer days, but we're getting a killer storm coming through. So I'm sure some of our viewers have also been experiencing. So hopefully, internet holds and we can get through this live stream together. But speaking of spring, we also have Gloss's annual meeting and a Seagull workshop coming up in Toronto on Monday, May 8th, 9th. Let me check my calendar. I should know this date.
Yes.
The 8th. I was right. So, how do we register? If you want to find out more information or register, please follow that link on the bottom of your screen and you can sign up.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty great day. It's a full day right downtown at the Toronto Hilton. Afterwards, we're also going to have the Seagull workshop, which is a great opportunity to talk about perhaps a developer community, potential new features that are desired for Seagull, what you love about it, what you don't love about it, what we can do to help grow and build this community. One of our goals for the field season of 20 for the year of 2023 is to grow to over 1 million observers or users on Seagull. Pretty ambitious goal, but we think we can do it.
And I think we'll get there. We'll just keep adding features and hopefully data sets of interest, and we'll get people looking at Seagull.
Well, it's exactly the type of thing that we'll talk about at the annual meeting and the Seagull workshop of how can you get involved, observers, to help us with that. Well, let's talk about Seagull, Shelby. What's the theme for today?
So today is about our large community of observers on Seagull, and more than just observers, like more than just the usual sense of observers.
Well, what do you mean by observer? We've both used that a few times, and sometimes it might be confusing for people. So let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, happy to do that. So when we say observer, we typically mean anyone who uses Seagull, who comes on and uses the data. So anyone that's a user of Seagull, we consider an observer. But more than that, we sometimes say observer or provider when we're talking about people who send their data to Gloss to be displayed on Seagull. So it's especially timely that we're having a discussion about observers and data providers, especially because the buoys that we've missed on Seagull all winter are getting prepped and ready to be deployed anytime. A few are already out in the water, and we expect a lot more in the coming weeks and months.
I'm glad you mentioned the data providers. They're such a critical part. They're kind of like the backbone of Seagull. They're the people who feed Seagull, who feed the bird, feed the Seagull. That's what we want. We need that data coming in, and the data providers and the researchers doing this work are so important. And it's not just researchers. There's also municipalities, individuals, communities who are gathering data with platforms and buoys and devices and sending that through to Seagull. So I'm super excited to hear from Jessie and Katelynn today. Before we break to them, though, I'm curious about some of the new features that I think you're going to be showing. We've been working hard over the last few months. We don't hibernate in the winter, as you know. So some of the new features that are coming, we've got one of my favorites, my favorite, I didn't even mean that joke, was that we can now put favorites right on the map inside Seagull. So if you have a platform or an asset that you're particularly interested in, you don't need to go to any special settings now. You can just click it right there in the map, and that icon changes from a circle to a heart shape. We love that. It's such a great feature. We're super excited to roll that in. In addition to favorites, the windrows has been enhanced. We had many users who were hoping for some desired enhancements there. Shelby's going to show that. Plot configurations from lines to points, points to lines, however you like, you can configure that now as well. And we completely overhauled the particle animation layer. So what do I mean by that? I mean, you've probably experimented with the wind layer and the surface currents in the past, and maybe it worked great for you, but for many users, it didn't. And so we felt your pain. It didn't even work for me sometimes. So we've completely overhauled it. Shelby's going to talk about that, and it works a lot better now.
Thanks, Tim, for that introduction. I'm really excited to show these off. I think people will be hopefully really tickled to see some of these. So as Tim mentioned, you can see your favorites right from the screen. So you can select your favorite buoy. I'll go ahead and select 45186 off of Waukegan, and you can add it as a favorite. And then, assuming that you're logged into your account, if you want to just see your favorites, you can select this favorites tool right here, and it will just highlight your favorite buoys around the Great Lakes. So really happy to be able to show that. And now you can see all the platforms you love right in the map in a really easy way. Another thing that we mentioned was the wind rows. So if you go into the Dive Deeper page and go to wind direction, you can see, give it a second. My internet's maybe starting to be questionable here. There it is. So this is from the last 24 hours, and I'm going to show you from the last 7 days. I think the colors are a little bit better. But what you're looking at is each spoke shows you where the wind was coming from for a certain percentage of time. So in this case, the wind was coming from the east for over 20% of the measurement period. And then the different colors show you the wind speeds that were within that directional shift. So this is only found under wind direction, but it's updated for all the platforms that have wind direction. So really great new visual feature. And then another feature that Tim mentioned was the difference in plotting customization. So you can, again, give you my internet a little bit of time to catch up, change plots between just a line plot, or what I believe we're calling information plots, to looking at more of a data view with each data point mapped out on the top of that line. So you can see where each measurement was taken as opposed to guessing on the line. So great new features that we have there. And then the final one is the wind sprites. So this one looks really cool today because of the storm that's around here. Look at all those colors and directions. But essentially, the old particles weren't working well on some operating systems and causing browsers to crash. So we've revised it so you can get clearer pictures, and you can zoom in a little bit more than you were able to before. So please go check these out and let us know what you think of the new features on Seagull.
Thanks so much, Shelby. Awesome demo. And for everyone who's on the call or watching this video, by all means, please give us your feedback. Use the feedback bar, that orange bar at the top of the Seagull application, and you can provide your feedback right in the app. We love it, and we respond almost always within 24 hours, and then we work hard to get your enhancements in. Shelby, sorry, carry on.
No, if you're watching this live and you have questions about this, feel free to pop them on the question or comments bar wherever you're watching, and we can see them and answer them live for you as well. So I see Nate from YouTube says looks good. So thanks, Nate. Appreciate that. But for now, I'm really pleased to introduce our two guests, Jessie Grow and Katelynn Johnson. Jessie is a research specialist from University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee who probably should also put buoy wrangler on her resume, but I'm not sure if she does. And then we also have Katelynn Johnson, is the Research and Operations Director of Rayon at University of Windsor, and she is in charge of a lot of different assets, and it's a really impressive set of platforms that they have there. So both of these two women are responsible in some way, shape, or form for getting multiple buoys out into the Great Lakes and then sharing data from them to Seagull. So we hope that you check their platforms out and give them some love once they're in the water. But for now, I'm going to ask them each a few questions and hear more about their work. So the first question I have for both of you is, can you tell us a little bit about the different observing assets you help support? And Katelynn, I'll ask you to go first for this one, please.
Okay, sure. Are we talking mostly buoys, Shelby?
We are, but if you want to just briefly touch on what else you have, you're welcome. I see you have a non-buoy behind you.
I know, it was too hard to get a buoy in here. For Rayon, we support, or we have 7 buoys that we're going to be putting out this season, and we've put out the past few years as well. So 6 of those buoys are going into the western basin of Lake Erie, and 1 of them is going to Lake Huron, the Kincardine area. So I guess what's unique about Rayon compared to maybe some of the other buoys that are out in the Great Lakes is that we move our buoys a lot from year to year, which I think could maybe be annoying for you guys, but we kind of place our buoys in different areas depending on what research we're doing, because Rayon is here to support research, not just at the University of Windsor, but with several other universities and government organizations, etc. So depending on the research question, we sort of move our buoys from year to year. Western Basin of Lake Erie, it's a multi-year project, so we are supporting an NSERC project, which is the Natural Science and Engineering Research Council of Canada. It's a project that supports the local water utility in Leamington. So we have 6 buoys in the Western Basin that are helping to build an early warning system for HABs in that area. And if we can have that system in place, then we can alert the local water utility to basically, shut down their local intake and put the water reservoirs online. So that's the bulk of our buoy work. Lake Erie, our Lake Huron buoy is it's a research project that we support that's looking at beach safety. So we have an ADCP on that buoy, as well as a wave sensor and other weather sensors. And that's being used for a project here at the University of Windsor that looks at shoreline erosion and beach safety. So lots of stuff. I think it would take me too long to go over it all, but that's the bulk of the buoys. All our buoys have weather, and we also look at water quality, and all that information's on our website if anyone listening wants more information, because like I said, it would be too much to go over. And then we also have other assets. We have 4 Slocum gliders that we use in various lakes, and then some more in situ water quality sensors that we have as well. So hopefully that covers
Thanks, Katelynn. That was a really great summary of a lot of information. So I appreciate that. Jessie, please go ahead. I'll get your slides up.
Yeah, thank you. And I apologize, I don't have any cool instruments or equipment behind me. It would be more chaotic at the lab than at home today, even though I'm sure my dogs will start barking as soon as they hear me talking. All I have is my Yabui water bottle for context. Anyway, so thank you guys so much. Thanks everybody for joining in on this. I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible. So I'll just jump right into our systems. This is sort of an overview of our main buoys. So we've got the Atwater system, which is our most beloved, most popular buoy. I'm sure many people are familiar with that one off of Atwater Beach in Milwaukee. Then our other big buoy is the Green Bay buoy, which is sort of in the mid-bay region up there on the left. And then over on the Michigan side, we have our Sleeping Bear Dunes buoy, which is a little bit smaller, and that's off the coast of Leland. And then included in this, which we haven't really integrated into GLOS or Seagull yet, is our Lake Express data. So we have a CO2 and other water quality instrumentation that is deployed yearly when the across lake when the lake ferry goes from Milwaukee to Muskegon a couple times a day. So we also collect that data. I don't think that's going to go live anytime soon, but we do want to get that data up on the Seagull site at some point. And on the left is just a closer view of our harbor where we're located at the School of Freshwater Sciences. And then up a little bit north of us is where the Atwater site is. And then I also included the retired Atwater 10-meter site that was retired, I think, in 2017. It's a really old system, and if we put anything there again, it probably will need to be an entirely new buoy. But stay tuned for that. So those are our three main, like, yearly, they don't move at all, unlike Rand's buoys. We try to keep ours pretty consistent. So this is what a typical configuration for us looks like. We usually buy sort of off-the-shelf Nexens buoys, which I'm sure people are familiar with. I am pretty much a one-woman operation in terms of the buoy program at UWM, so I prefer more off-the-shelf stuff. There's still a lot of customization that I have to do, but we typically will buy the Nexens buoys. I love them. I think they're fantastic. So this is a typical configuration for us. We've got solar panels, a weather station, some sort of dry well with batteries, and a data logger, obviously a foam hull. Most of them have water quality sondes, either at the surface or at the bottom, monitoring things like DO for hypoxia studies up in Green Bay. Most of them also have an ADCP, or an acoustic Doppler current profiler, so we can see what the currents are doing at various depths in the water column. Same thing with the temperature string. You can see all the way to the bottom on most of our buoys. I think all of them now have temperature strings, which is useful. I know everybody loves the temperature strings. And usually the anglers of the community are the first ones to reach out when they go down. So we try to keep those as functional as possible. They all have a wave sensor now, which is great. Not all of them had that in the past. So we're really happy to have good wave sensors on all of our buoys. And then the main three have cameras as well. Atwater and Green Bay have surface cameras, and Sleeping Bear has a benthic camera. And this year I'm slowly working towards upgrading the Atwater buoys camera system first, since that is our most popular, to a nicer axis camera, which will give us better image quality, and hopefully people can see like video snippets instead of just the still shots every 10 minutes that we've done in the past. And then each buoy, each of our large buoys anyway, have the 2-point mooring system, which seems to work pretty well for us. So I won't get too deep into this, but this is just a general sort of overview. This is our Atwater buoy, our most beloved beast. Here she is on the back of the Niske, getting ready for deployment. I think I took this picture in 2022. Not much has changed since then. Then next is the Green Bay buoy. As you can see, they're pretty similar. There's our beloved Craig, deckhand extraordinaire, with that buoy. Same sort of thing, pretty much the same. The only difference between the Green Bay buoy and the Atwater buoy is that the Green Bay buoy has a bottom sonde, which is fantastic. It's pretty unique to the area to have live bottom DO and temperature and conductivity data coming through live. So we're pretty proud of that. And then the Sleeping Bear buoy, as you can see, is a little bit smaller. It doesn't have that sort of flat foot as the other big buoys have. So this one's a little bit easier to work with, although I definitely don't love that these buoys have to be like laid down on their side for transport and storage. It makes me nervous to have everything jostled to the side, but I guess they do survive all summer out on the lake, so it should be fine. But yeah, so this is a Sleeping Bear buoy. Let's see here. I think in the next couple of years, we're going to try to get an ADCP on this one. But in the meantime, she just chugs along with weather station, wave sensor. It does have a bottom camera, and then of course the temperature string and water quality sonde. And then last year, some of you may be familiar with the new buoy that we helped put out with the Salmon Unlimited Club of Wisconsin. It's off the coast of Racine. So it's pretty much the same as the Sleeping Bear buoy. It just doesn't have a water quality sound. So that one will be deployed in the next few weeks here, same as Atwater. Those are usually the first to go in. And what I don't have in this slide quite yet is we're working with NOAA's newly designated, longest name ever, Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary. We helped them get some funding from the Fund for Lake Michigan to put in another buoy very similar to what you see here on the screen, off of the coast of Sheboygan in the National Marine Sanctuary. So that's pretty cool. So I am super busy this year, but it's been great so far. And I think that's all. Oh no, I got more. Sorry. In addition to our big main buoys, we've started to slowly grow our fleet with these little mini guys. We just call them LoRa buoys, since they use LoRa technology as opposed to the just regular cell telemetry that our big buoys use. So last year we did get one of these onto Seagull, so that was a big success, and we bought 4 more. So we'll be adding these all over the Lower Green Bay in hypoxic prone waters to keep an eye on that. And so in addition to monitoring bottom dissolved oxygen for hypoxia, also we're putting surface chlorophyll and blue-green algae sensors at the surface so we can monitor for HABs as well. And in addition to that, we also have some micro AUVs. Yes, they are pink. Yes, I'm excited about it. So we haven't really used those yet. We got one sort of maiden voyage launch in last fall in a shallow, very clear lake out in western Wisconsin. That was more of a, hey, let's just take a boat ride day and throw some stuff in the water. It did come back. It is very nerve-wracking when you throw these in the water and they disappear and you're like, oh gosh, I really hope you resurface. But it did, and it came back. So we're excited to start using these more this summer. We have some projects in mind, so stay tuned for that data to be somehow, I don't know, Shelby, you'll have to say how that will be integrated into Seagull. And this is again,
I'm going to stop you there to ask you a different question, if that's okay. Because
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
this might get into some of this. Is I'm curious, as you're going through this, like, what do field season preparations look like for you, specifically around buoys, when it comes to like tasks and like the amount of time? Like, do you work on this all winter, or what does that look like for you?
Sure. So thank you for moderating. I would go on forever. So I don't have that many pictures about the chaos that ensues during the winter, but usually I will dismantle everything in the winter, right after they come in. I do take a lot of time in the winter to work on back-end stuff, like more grant writing, report writing, and stuff like that, related to buoys and stuff. And then towards the, as we get closer to spring, when we finally get our, ducks in a row and our money, in hand, then I can start ordering stuff that I need for repairs. If we add new sensors, I will have to sort of rewire everything inside. And this is generally what the lab looks like during the winter. It's just a buoy laid out in all its exposed glory. But yeah, a lot of repairs, both inside the buoy, on the outside of the buoy, sending in sensors to make sure they're calibrated correctly if they need to be repaired. A lot of rewiring on the inside. This is, I made a new electronic stack last year. I'm pretty proud of this guy. It turns out I love rewiring stuff. I have all these fun crimping tools that I love to work with, so that's fun. Usually tinkering around in the lab for months prior to deployment. And then sometimes I'll be working on stuff like this, so messes like that make sense to other people. But yeah, so it's a lot of sort of preparatory stuff like that, cleaning, repairing, adding new sensors, going through all the moorings, making sure all of our equipment is in good condition, replacing rusty clips and rusty shackles, and replacing chain if we need to. And that's pretty much it.
That's fantastic. Thanks for those visuals. I think that's really helpful to get an idea. And Katelynn, I'm guessing you probably have a lot of the same work that goes on to it. But I'm curious, once the buoys are in the water, what else do you have to do? Is it pretty hands-off, or what does that look like from a maintenance standpoint? Oh, you're on mute, Katelynn.
Every time, no matter what. I'll just talk about Lake Erie. That's where the bulk of our buoys are. So once the buoys are in the water, we go out every 2 weeks and we do water collections, water sample collections. Just part of our ongoing project. It's kind of we ground truth the data that the sensors are spitting out. And then as the season progresses, we tend to go out at least once a week, just to clean the sensors because of the biofouling that goes on. I'm sure you know, Jessie, and definitely in the western basin of Lake Erie, even with some of the sensors having wipers, we have to still go out and clean those off to make sure we're getting, good solid data. So hands off for the most part, with at least, every 2 weeks going out there.
That's probably not the worst part of the job, is getting out in the water, especially if it's a nice weather day. At least you're not going out, in worse conditions for the most part.
I think one of the challenges with it is, going out on good weather days, because in Lake Erie especially too, it's like to actually go and clean those sensors, we need pretty calm water. So that can be a challenge. So, it's like, okay, we're planning for Wednesday, but okay, never mind, it's going to be Thursday. Okay, never mind, it's going to be Friday. So it's a lot of that. But it's not that bad.
That's great. Thank you. So one last question for you both is, why do you value sending your data to GLOS through Seagull? What's the benefit it adds for you? And Jessie, I'll let you answer first this time.
Well, GLOS is pretty much my bread and butter. Our buoy program would not really be able to continue or exist whatsoever without funding from GLOS, and just the partnership that I feel like we've been able to foster over the last couple of years as GLOS has changed and Seagull is now a thing. And I really dug my heels into this position, and I'm like forcing the school to just make sure that I'm just going to keep doing buoys until, whatever. So yeah, you guys are really my bread and butter, and I can't thank you enough this job is great. I love it. I get to tinker. Secondly, you guys are really approachable and friendly, and Shelby, you have helped me understand on a much deeper level a lot of the data that we put out. So you've helped me to make sure that I know that I'm really confident in our data. Yeah, and you handle all the back end stuff that I don't know how to do, like the beautiful website. That's one thing that I want to do this summer and next winter. When things are slow, I would really like to redo our website. We're not in competition. You guys are the main star of the data display page, but it would be great to have a little bit more nice looking website on our end. However, you guys are doing such a great job with that. I can't do it all. So thank goodness you're getting the data out, because that's most important.
Thanks, Jessie. And Katelynn, what about you?
I would agree with basically everything Jessie said there. I think everyone at GLOS is so helpful and wonderful to work with. But I guess more broadly, data sharing in general it's part of RAN's mandate. It's the reason that we have this network. It's the reason that we initially got our funding, and it's also the reason that we have continued funding for the next 6 years and hopefully beyond. It's such a big, important piece of the puzzle, and granting agencies are looking for that now. Like, are you actually sharing your data? I don't think that was happening a lot in the past, and it's kind of the way of the future. And GLOS just always seemed like the place to go for Great Lakes data. So we've been working with GLOS since the inception of Rayon, and we've watched it grow into now Seagull, which has been really amazing. And I think we were one of the first nested seagulls. So we kind of have our own we have our own page within Seagull, which is great. And it's wonderful to be able to direct stakeholders to that page and say, hey, this is where our data is being shared. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it, but you guys are great.
Thank you. And I should say, part of my job is to interface with the Jessies and Katelynns of the Great Lakes to help their data. That's my job. And I am so lucky to get to work with great people to help make this happen. So thanks to you both for making my job really enjoyable. I should know I have really great working relationships with both Jessie and Katelynn, at least from my end. It sounds like that's reciprocated, so that's great. So we have a couple of questions, or we have at least one question coming from the audience. If you have any more, please send those in. And Jessie and Katelynn, feel free to stay on until we're done here. But the first question we have is, we have a request for a Yeah Buoy sticker. I think, yeah, there's a great example. If you want to email support@gloss.org, we can mail one out. David, if that's okay. David is our behind the scenes producer of this.
Well,
he's also in charge of all the awesome swag.
I think what we really need to have happen is make a post or a tweet on social media and mention Gloss and Seagull, and David will send you one.
It's funny that's being mentioned because I'm just sitting here beside a stack of. So if anyone wants one of these,
I'll take a Rand
That's a
sticker.
great
oh, I will send you some swag, Jessie.
Cool.
I would like some swag too. I don't have a rayon sticker, and my water bottle is naked. It needs a
And
sticker.
you don't have a
Katelynn.
rayon sticker? Okay, I will send some things with Aaron to Toronto.
Excellent.
All right.
Great.
If there are any more questions, feel free to drop those in. Other than that, any final comments from anyone? All right. Well, thank you both, Jessie and Katelynn, again. And Tim and I will see you from IAGLR. So it'll be the second week of May, the second Wednesday, but we are really excited to bring you the next live stream from IAGLR.
And we'll both be together live in Toronto at the Toronto Hilton. So we're looking forward to another in-person production for our next live stream. And until then, we hope that you continue to tune in and dive into Seagull and use the app. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, Shelby. Thank you, Jessie. And thank you,
Thanks,
Katelynn.
everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, all.